All right, we got to talk about a change in the weather. Finally, this weather pattern that's plagued us all summer with relentless rounds of thunderstorms, multiple reports of severe weather, trees down. We're finally seeing a change in the entire pattern in the forecast guidance, so that's good. Here's our current pattern. You kind of see the storms just like this Saturday afternoon. They keep going up and around an area of high pressure, and when that happens, we're on the outer edge. I'll have another little explainer here in a second, but high pressure over Texas. This has been kind of the national story for a while with this heat dome stretching all the way back into Arizona. And on the outer rim, we have the ring of fire. All these storms have been flaring up. This is going to change. So the satellite and radar, we see this activity that continues to kind of come in from the northwest. This has been going on all summer long. As far as today goes, the rest of it, we're going to see another complex move through. It's already moving through now. It's backing temperatures off, but here's the focus long range. So this is how our summer has been. This area in yellow, that's pretty much the heat dome. It's been moving northeast by about 100 miles and then retreating back to the west by about 200 miles. So what that does is it brings in the heat, which is why we get those heat advisories, just like we had Saturday, and then the heat advisory gets broken. It doesn't make it because the storms come in on top of it. But underneath this area of high pressure, that's where it's just really hot and they're falling into drought. So overall, here's that pattern that we've been in since summer began, even late spring. You get the complex, this northwest flow here, the storms develop to the north, they gain momentum and they drop southeast, and then they produce a lot of damaging winds along the way and really prolific lightning and flooding rain sometimes too, because they stay on that same pattern. So the storms again follow this ring of fire. So what's the change? The change is in that area of high pressure. It's actually going to shift. This is next week, late next week, this area of high pressure and this entire dome starts lifting to the northeast. And what this will mean is the storm track will be on the outer edge of this instead of us being on the outer edge. We're going to be right underneath this area of high pressure. So this storm track is north. There's less rain in the Tennessee Valley. And overall, it will get hotter. I think we're looking at some more 90s by next weekend. But while this change takes place, we are going to see slightly cooler air coming in. This is something I haven't talked about much, but this is called 500 millibar vorticity. This is where the air itself is spinning enough, and these are little waves that come through, and those can trigger showers and storms. So here's Sunday, late afternoon, just a 30% chance of showers and storms. More organization up here farther to the north from Wichita to St. Louis with that purple area. That's a very strong wave of energy coming through, and that's why it's attached to a frontal boundary that's coming through. So I'm going to keep at least a slight chance of rain in for Tuesday morning as this wave kind of moves in from the northeast. But beyond that, what we start to see is this area fill back in. The storm track's going to be heading to the north. So this is next Thursday. And that means the rain chances are going to go north. And by Friday, pretty much a blank map. So here's the pattern here. Notice that area low pressure. This is Monday. That's associated with the cold front that's coming in. And I call it a cold front. But basically, you've got a frontal boundary here. And then out west, here's the area high pressure that's going to change our weather for the better. So let's get forward here. Notice as we get past Monday, this area high pressure over the Rockies starts to slowly shift to the east. But there's one more disturbance coming in on the northern edge of this high pressure Wednesday. This will be almost like an Alberta Clipper, but it doesn't quite make it all the way down here into the Tennessee Valley, but it will trigger some showers and storms up to the north into the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. But notice as we go past Thursday, this August 17th here, we start to see the entire pattern shift. High pressure starts to dominate from the west, and that changes our weather. So again, a quick rewind here. We've got one little trough coming through next week, and then another smaller one coming through the Great Lakes. And then as we get into Friday, high pressure, and this will continue to move east, and eventually we may get what's called an omega block, and that basically will block the entire storm pattern. So on the 10-day forecast, we don't have any big chance of rain beyond Tuesday of next week, and that Tuesday chance is sitting right at 20%. So overall, watching the weather, glad to see the weather pattern changing. And I was going to mention this the other day, but you know, it's been such a wacky summer that I figured maybe the models were wrong, but and they have been wrong. But I think we're getting more confidence, and the entire pattern is going to start to change. However, I will tell you, this opens up the Gulf of Mexico for hurricane season. So we're trending in a change, and we've pretty much been suppressing the hurricane development with higher wind shear. But this pattern would be more conducive for Gulf Coast hurricanes. So that may come down the road. Of course, it's inevitable. We're getting later and later into the season. Typically, September is the peak. September 15th, typically the peak of hurricane season, and we will likely get busier and busier. 10-day forecast, you briefly saw that behind me. Again, slightly cooler next week, but more importantly, a break in this messy weather pattern.